Brennan, again, good morning.
Good morning. The first item you have there is an action item on the purchasing agenda as of November 3rd. For the November 3rd board meeting, you can see just a few items on there. A couple things just to point out. There's we're asking for $90,000 for grassroots project for communications. That's part of the marketing plan that John talked about. Was it last week, I guess, or 2 weeks ago, with the work session? And Ken, I don't know if you want to talk about the construction manager. You mentioned that earlier in earlier meetings, but
In here is a recommendation for a contract with Triangle for construction management services for Warm, Safe, and Dry for the next fiscal year, taking us through next summer. We invited 6 construction management firms to respond with proposals, 6 that we'd worked with before. 3 did respond, and we interviewed 2 and are recommending Triangle. They had the best grasp of what we were looking for, and we're very comfortable with using them again. We are asking for a contract amount in $400,000. Their actual contract is around $266,000, and then there will be pieces that are what's the term? General conditions that will come with each contract that's approved. So as we bring back construction projects for your approval, there will be a piece on there that is general conditions work that would go to Triangle, and that would fit under the 400.
Any questions about the purchasing agenda items?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to get Triangle involved, and thanks for going through the process. Glad you did thoroughly, obviously. I think it was the right call to get that resource in place, and it sounds like you did it exactly the right way, so thanks.
No further comments. Is there a motion to accept the purchasing agenda items? Support? All right. Further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign? Just one item for clarification. I know at the last board meeting, there was a purchasing agenda included in the consent agenda, which I don't think we ever took action on as a finance board. I just feel that, and I've said this before, I think prior to you being here, if the finance committee doesn't actually approve the purchasing agenda, I don't think that those items should be included in the purchasing agenda, or in the consent agenda. It should be actually talked about in public.
got it. Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
No problem.
September financial statements are part of your packet. This time of year, we're flush with cash. A chunk of our revenue is front-end loaded. Beginning of the school year, we get some tax revenue in from the county, and in terms of and the expenditure side are just starting up as school started last month. So for the first quarter of the year, things are progressing as appropriate. There's really nothing of significance. As we continue to operate throughout the year, expenditures will catch up with revenues. Other than that, it's pretty unremarkable numbers through September, as we would expect them to be at this point in time. So,
Any questions about the financial statements? Good.
Safe and Dry, not much different to report than last month. We're still wrapping up the summer's projects, trying to get all the financial end completed and closed out. There's a few projects that lingered, one being the roof at GRPS University. As weather changes, we'll make a decision whether we go ahead with that or pull it back and then rebid it for next year. But all in all, we're just wrapping up, and then after board action in November 3rd, we'll probably sit down with Triangle and have it scheduled for the 4th to get started on next year. And we need their help to confirm or revise what we've done. And we need our goal is to have the new projects 95% set by Thanksgiving and 100% set by holiday break.
Excellent. Is there anything that's of surprise that you think that has popped up on your radar for next year, just by your initial due diligence?
Nothing big that's not on the list, but then again, the way the list is approved, it gives a fair amount of flexibility. And we really need to revisit what we can do in there. For example, we had put $1 million for air conditioning at GRPS University. Is that a wise thing to do at this point with all the other things that we have on? That's a decision we have to make. And one of the questions for the CM will be, can it be broken up? If we do half of it, if that's feasible, is it half the cost or is it 2/3 the cost? So is it economically feasible to break it up? We need input on things like that. But at this point, I don't think there's anything that's jumped up, nothing big anyway. But we will bring that back and keep you in the loop. And we do intend to bring the whole list at the December finance meeting to present again and have it updated and approved.
Any other questions concerning the warm, safe, dry updates?
No, I think it's probably appropriate at some point, I don't know if we wanna, probably not now, but we might wanna go through the list then, and just explain the thinking behind major expenditures. For example, $1 million for AC. But now is probably not the best time to do it, maybe when the annual list comes up, we just sort of go line on it and look at things over $100,000 or so, and you just tell us. And some things are maintenance, right, like you get a dead boiler, you gotta replace the boiler. But then some things might be upgrades and some things might be, so, probably not now, but it'd be good, it'd be nice to have an overview of that. Is this the time of year when you're sort of stressing your heat system and you find out what fails and what doesn't? Or has that already happened?
It already happened. It only, we had a couple of problems, one being in the service building. One of the boilers in the back for the warehouse failed. And I believe last month we had the approval to order the replacement. That should be in by mid-November. We've taken a look at our schedules and really we're trying to change that so we know in June if we're gonna have a problem, so we have time to deal with it rather than finding out in September.
Right, especially when boilers have got, what, a 2-month wait time, getting the pieces.
Exactly. So we're trying to revise our practices accordingly.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anything else on the agenda for you guys?
No, we're all set.
All right. Anyone from finance, anything else?
We were talking about having this annual calendar of, sort of planned, discussions or presentations about,
The budget?
budgets and also energy policy, those other things from sustainability that we had talked about previously. We would want to do a report, annual energy report, annual various reports.
And I do think that now that you've been here a while, Mr. Oberst,
Sure.
we'd always talked about doing just having a sort of a master budget calendar about when we're going to have discussions about the budget and begin actually working through the budget. I know that's part of your goal is to work through the
Yeah.
budget a little sooner than
Yeah.
been past practice.
Yeah,
so.
I actually met with our HR team a week and a half ago to start that discussion. Better understand what their timelines are and what they do, and we'll get together again, finance and HR over the next couple of weeks to finalize that budget thing. At that probably next month, I can bring that schedule to you
That'd be
in
great.
terms of what we're doing and when we need your involvement, which will hopefully be before the end of May.
And then and it's also just knowing that there's the election coming up and there's, this will change
right.
mid-year for the
That's
first
right.
time and this committee could look different in a few months, so.
That's
Try
right.
to make sure that there's
Yep.
you're able to get the next iteration of this up to speed quickly.
Regarding sustainability report and an energy report, Ms. Trevilian's not here. She was at a sustainability conference all week and she didn't make it back till late last night, so. We've already talked about at the end of the fiscal year, so in the June, early July timeframe, she'd be working on putting together a report. But she's aware of what we're looking to present, so starting to make sure things are compiled and documented accordingly.
Sorry, what was her timeline?
End of the fiscal year, June,
Okay, to get a report
unless you have
together?
other direction for us.
Well, I'd like to see, at that point, she's gonna have been here almost a year, right? I mean, I'd like to see some deliverables a lot faster than that. I'd like to see some kind of short-term plan. I mean, just to mention two obvious things. One, I'd love to see a comprehensive, look at recycling policy, because it's very scattershot around the district right now. Every building's doing something different. We don't have any kind of, and the incentives are in the wrong place. There's really no incentive for our waste haulers to maximize recycling, as I understand it, but again, I love to be briefed on that. And, you know, the other pet peeve, as I sit here in meeting after meeting and look up at incandescent light bulbs, I mean, I don't want to make jokes about how many people it takes to change a light bulb, but honestly, if she's on staff for a year, we might want to, it'd be nice if we could get past incandescent light bulbs faster than a year. I mean, I could come do it with a stepladder, but,
I think the other issue is she doing it, listening to her, and she presented last time and maybe presenting some of that data.
Yes, and just to clarify, I may have misspoken, what would happen in June is an annual reporting of what's been done. So to your point of some things that are underway, that will come month to month, and she will be here each date.
if she could be here next month and tell us what she's actually started on, that'd be great.
Well, yes, she will.
Thanks.
And can we also have John and Rusty here, or John and or Rusty here at the next meeting, just knowing that the election will have passed at that point to sort of see where where the dust has settled.
Is legislative under finance, sort of?
Yeah, it's sort of under
Sort of
both.
like sustainability, it's supposed to be everywhere,
Yeah.
but chronically thinking about it.
And we may get an update prior to that at a board meeting, but if not, at least have it tentatively on the books. If we don't get an update at a full board session, to have them here. What's up? No items, no.
Another thing, Larry, I suppose, is, as long as we had another white knuckle session here, took us, what, 14 minutes? Dr. Randall's raises, I think, a good point. I mean, some things fall under more than one category, right? So we could say, sustainability really falls under curriculum because we really want to teach kids how to save energy, which is true, but we also, at the end of the day, want to save the district money. And so, for lack of a better place, we decided the center of gravity was here, which doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a report out to curriculum once in a while. But similarly, I think our movement on discipline stuff, the center of gravity clearly is in curriculum, because the reason we're trying to work on discipline stuff is to keep kids learning and have better educational outcomes. But it also is going to cost us money. There's going to be financial implications to transitioning our discipline policies. So I'd like to hear plans for how we're going to invest in transitioning our discipline policies at finance at some point. I think it's worth having a public discussion about that. I mean, again, we suspend 3,000 kids a year, give or take, well, give more like. If we're going to actually stop doing that, there are going to be some internal costs to dealing with a transition to a better discipline policy. That the public deserves to have hear a conversation about that. Not today, but
Gotcha.
eventually. And like I said, primarily that's a curriculum thing, because we're trying to improve educational outcomes, but it's got financial implications.
Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Well, I just hate getting all these concerns.